We are so excited for today's episode. Our guest today is Jessica Campos, a friend of ours, and also somebody that helps us, works with us. And, you'll hear all about who Jessica is, but she's really an expert with branding and
Hmm.
marketing, aside from being an awesome soul. So,
Yeah, we'll get into. We want to bring out the amazing, authentic Jessica that you always are. What you see is what you get. So we want our audience. We want to
Thank
share
you
you
so
with our
much.
audience too.
Thank
So,
you so much. That's why I say yes. I feel comfortable. Just go for it.
but we just want you to introduce yourself and what you would like our audience to know about you and who you are, um, in your words.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me as a guest. I'm honored and very, very excited because I know that your message touches so many people, especially leaders who want to live a bold life. And I get touched by that mission in so many ways. So thank you so much. I always introduce myself as the recovered attorney because I wanted to live a bold life, you see? So, yes, I reinvented from being a lawyer, and now I do digital marketing. And I love helping entrepreneurs. And also, we work with marketing teams that want to build brands and business. We are a firm, a boutique firm in Austin, Texas. So, you're all welcome to visit and to have a blast in this amazing city. My accent is from Puerto Rico, so let's get that cleared out. I know that, um, it took me 9 years actually to feel comfortable to speak with my accent and embrace that. And I hope that whatever it is that you feel like it's a limitation for you, you don't do what I did, which was waiting to get, that obstacle out of the way. It took me way so long. And now I learned how to embrace that instead of trying to hide it, right? So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
we're so excited to have you on because, we just launched season 2 of our podcast, and we really want to focus the Bold Conscious Connections conversation on that adventure, that journey that individuals make once they decide to leave a corporate life or a job
Mhm.
to then launch their own business. So, tell us about what it finally took for you to make that leap.
Hmm. Ah, it brings me chills, to be honest with you. So, um, it took me a big loss. It was a financial crisis, and I found myself doubting in so many ways. So I feel like that opportunity gave me the pain I needed. And sometimes I feel like you get motivated by looking at things and you could see the possibilities. For me, it was tired and sad and unmotivated to the point that I was like, I will never ever go through something like this again. So, what happened in my case, I found myself being a real estate attorney during the mortgage crisis in 2008. And yeah, I mean, even though I thought and I knew that my law practice was not really bringing me fulfillment anymore, even though I hit the millions and I got the car I wanted, the apartment I wanted, the life I wanted, it turned out that it was not really what I wanted. So I feel like I had that bug in my heart. I had just remarried. I had made the decision to really put my priorities in other orders. But I never factored that I was gonna stop practicing law because it was my bread and butter. But I feel like the universe and God did that for me. So that's what I took. It was not something that I had too much of a choice. It was wipe out. So what you do when you lose everything?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yes.
I love what you said, from pain to possibilities, because that was
Yes,
really
yes. And actually, if we
what I
keep on
heard
this
there.
conversation, I would say that it was not overnight. I needed to deal with my identity. I needed to deal with acceptance and grieving that persona, Jessica, the lawyer, Jessica, the all of these, adjectives that you put behind your career. So it took me about 4 years until I said, you know what, mom and grandma, I'm no longer going to be a lawyer. I'm going to stop paying for my fees and my license and all of that. They still don't understand why I did that, to be honest with you. And I still actually, my law
Mhm.
practice still has the office open in San Juan, but I removed myself from the practice. But it took me 4 years to do that. I was always in these, the first 4 years were that process of grieving, and I was doing something, but I always had my plan B. So I don't know what you think about that. Do some people think that when they jump and then they take the leap, do you think it's healthy to have a plan B to go back? Or do you feel like you should just burn the ships?
That's a great question. And I think everybody who contemplates the answer to that needs to really dig deep and figure out what it is for them. Because I think all of us, with our unique situations, will have different answers to that. I happen to burn the ships. My situation led me to burn all the boats. But yeah, everybody is so different. And I think that, you talked about it. You mentioned there was this bug, like this bug in you, like this inner voice. How did you know to finally listen to that? Like, why didn't you um, just do something else that was also, I guess, a job? Like, what was the draw towards entrepreneurship instead?
You know what? As cheesy or cliquey, I don't know what word to put there. But people might think that you paid me to say this. But no, it's how it was. Um, it took me hiring a coach
Mm.
to help me to work with my consciousness. It took me to work and dig deep and really ask myself, because until then, those words were not even in my vocabulary. I remember the first time when I had that coaching session, when I had to work through my plan and my vision. I'm like, wait a minute. I realized that I didn't have a vision, because what happens is, and to my justification of why, right? Number one, I was young. I was barely, like, what, 30, 31 years old. And I was really immersed in the Kool-Aid of building my life throughout a career. And when you do that, you don't really look around. You just, you get immersed in your practice, you get immersed in your field. And definitely, when you are a lawyer, you never hear anybody talking about being conscious, being intentional, even purposeful. Those are not words that exist in the practice.
Certainly not in
so,
most of the world. Yes, you're right.
no, no. And I'm like, wow, the new language resonated more with me in so many ways. And it actually helped me to go and do like a life review. And I saw, like, oh, wait a minute. This is why I started feeling that way. But, I didn't even have names for those feelings. So somebody guided me through understanding, um, you know, how it is to really design a life, how it is to really picture a new vision. And I am grateful forever to that coach. We actually work in private sessions. Since I didn't have any framework of what I could even do, he gave me some options. And actually, I'm doing today what I'm doing because of that seed that was planted. He said, whatever you do, Jessica, make sure that you take advantage of your brand.
Mm.
And I'm like, what do you mean? You can sell products, you can work in many ways, but at the end of the day, you really want to be a leader that inspires people. You have a beautiful story. and a story that many people will feel that they get inspiration from. I'm like, I guess so. I didn't really understand that much, but there was something that was provided to me, and that was like, as long as you have the vision, but also you need to keep getting that connection with people who are living that world. And that's how I came in touch with tools like Brandon Bouchard's community. And before that, eWomen Network, Fabienne Fredrickson. In fact, I saw Brandon Bouchard on stage for the very first time back in 2012 in a convention that my coach told me I needed to go so I could meet new people. So yeah, I mean, he gave me that, but I took action as well.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I was just recounting for Raju how it was that you and I met, and it was at Brendan Bouchard's High Performance Academy 2 years ago. I
Yep.
shared that coach piece with you because when I knew that I wanted to leave my corporate job, I immediately hired a coach. And while I
Yeah.
didn't plan out to initially launch my entrepreneurship journey, I thought I was hiring a career coach to help me repackage my resume, myself for another corporate job. It was actually my work with her that allowed me to get to the space where I did finally burn the boats. So no, we didn't plan that. If you're listening, we didn't
Yeah.
we didn't plan
We're
to
not paying
plug the
Jessica.
coaches.
But
No, but
thank you for the plug. I
yeah,
think we all, the catalysts for us are many, to make the transition. But yes, coaching has changed many lives. So
yeah, no, it is. And for example, like I have a bottle in front of me. Like I cannot read the label from the inside. Like if I do this, I cannot see. And that's why I believe that having somebody outside that can really listen to you and can help you. I caught myself saying so many things, and then having those conversations with my coach truly helped me to feel empowered, to get the direction. Honestly, I feel like if it wasn't for that, um, wow, I mean, I surrendered my practice, my license in 2012. Officially, like when the day that I filed the motion was even 4 years later. But I resigned from my law firm and everything in 2012. And if it wasn't for him, um, wow, I think it would have taken me probably 20 years to figure something out.
Mm.
Jessica, going back to using Catalyst again, a lot of times you had a catalyst to make the move. Sometimes we don't have choices, or
Yes.
sometimes it triggers an internal response that maybe that's an external event, but the internal reconciles, right? And then you could combine that, marry the two to say, okay, I'm going to do what I want to do. So clearly that's an act of bravery, courage, boldness.
Mm-hmm.
When we
Mm-hmm.
say bold, we talk about bold conscious all the time. What does it mean to you to be bold, and why is it important?
That is a great question because I identified when you say living bold, I feel like being bold means that you are okay with um, honoring your feeling and living through those feelings, even when somebody is not in agreement with. And you have to be bold about it. You have to be persistent about it. You have to put the boundaries so that when you live in that way, if you think about bold is the letters that stand out when somebody's reading something. And that's a kind of life that it's the only way to really live the life you want, or else you are going to basically follow somebody else's agenda that is the one that is living the bold life. Another word for bold, if I feel like if the word is like a little bit too new, or they feel like, oh, I'm not into that Kool-Aid, well, it's outstanding. It's outstanding. How can you be that person that is the outstanding, that is not the norm? And another one is great, right? Like, being bold is pretty much the opposite of staying the course just because somebody else wants you to.
Wow, terrific.
And I have the tattoo.
Oh, what is that? Sorry.
What does that say?
The tattoo living in greatness.
Ooh,
Oh.
beautiful.
Yeah, you have a greatness in your title of one of your programs, isn't there?
Yes, yes. So the name of my company is Marketing for Greatness. And I decided that I wanted that name because to me, greatness means when you succeed under circumstances where 99% of people would fail. So we can say bold and greatness are similar. Like you need to have that internal drive and also an agreement with yourself because you go from thinking, oh, I should be bold, right? But from the should to must, there's several steps that need to be taken, and this is the part where when you do that on your own, it might take you longer, but it's because it's always like almost like when you go to the gym and you want to build muscle. Well, when it hurts, nobody's looking at you and then you stop. But being bold means that you're going to do that even when nobody's watching.
Mm.
Absolutely.
And that's part of what needs to happen, right?
Absolutely. You know, and along with, you know, the name of this podcast is Bold Conscious Connections. And love the way that you just broke down what bold means to you. And it takes work, right? It takes work to just keep going, even when it seems like all the evidence that you have, the physical evidence that you have, may not support, you know, what it is that you're trying to do. So how do you get beyond that? How do you get beyond how things appear to be in order to keep moving towards the direction of your vision?
Yeah, I needed to acquire strategies that could help me to reset. And the quicker somebody can get those strategies and process them and implement them to whatever it works for them, the better. I'm going to tell you some practical examples. Um, Being bold or being great doesn't mean that you're immune to situations where things don't go your way. But what makes you bold is the things you do when things don't go your way. And for example, like if I wake up and I don't feel great, well, my physiology is trying to tell me something. It's my duty or my ritual or my habit to try to find out like what happens, you know, why I don't feel that great. And the quicker I get my body to feel better, the quicker I get to feel like that vibration that makes me to be in a mode where people ask me, "What did you drink?" I'm like, "I didn't drink anything." Like that's me. so so I feel like being bold, you know, having those strategies to get you reset and restore that level of energy, it is so important, so important. So I have a couple of strategies. Sometimes is, you know, finding if what I'm feeling it's because of my physiology. I mean, am I hungry? You know, should I be just drinking more coffee or whatever, right? Balancing those chemicals in your body. Sometimes is what you need. Sometimes you're tired and all you need is just 5 minutes to recharge. Or the easiest one, sometimes all you need is just to put music and dance and prime yourself to just get on that peak state of mind where things are just more colorful and life looks way much better. Everything is perception.
Everything is perception.
Spoken like a true Puerto Rican into dancing.
Oh yeah, you see that might be culture,
Yeah.
right? And speaking of that, the more conscious I became, the more I learned on other things that would bring me into a perspective on how my culture would impact my the things I do, how not having access to my culture was impacting me, which is also part of my development. The more I learn about the things I'm doing and why I'm doing them, the better I can be as a leader. And everything kind of pulls from there, right? I feel like the more you get to be as a leader, well, you lead yourself and your personal goals, they come. Your financial goals, they just get pulled by that state of mind that you have.
Yeah, you said something that was so important before, and you said it quickly, but I want to highlight it. is that you actually try to find out why you feel this way. You know, when you wake up and your energy, your physiology is not maybe quite where you want it, is that you're not just immediately changing it or trying to change it. You're actually first trying to find out why. And that's
Yes.
so important, and it's something that we talk to our clients about, because there is value in sitting in that space and figuring out why that emotion or that feeling is there prior to wanting to throw, I like to say, throw cotton candy and bubble gum on it, you know? um,
Yep.
because anything on process, as we know, will find a way to keep coming, and they tend to come, if it's unaddressed, they tend to come in the most in a part in oh, I can't speak now, in a opportune moments. And
Yeah.
so if you're listening, I think, really try to remember that it's so important to figure out the why behind, and then that is where the consciousness is, because then you have more awareness and can be more intentional, um, moving forward.
And I'm glad you're talking about that point. And this goes and tidy up what I was saying before about the culture, and how does that impact the way that we behave, because we have so many layers. And I feel like in my journey, the more layers I peeled from my onion, the more things I found, and things that, as you may call them, patterns. So there are some patterns that no matter how much you do, and no matter, how much you do as far as like working from the outside to lift your energy, patterns are there. And you really need to work harder to get them out of your thinking process. So in my journey, when I started coaching and getting coached, we work in the things in my vision and things like that. But I will tell you, that there was a pattern that I needed to work much deeper. And when I looked into the root of that pattern, it was my culture. And that pattern was actually like the poverty habits I had, the poor mindset, um, the belief that were around of I should not be asking for this. So when it was about money and the behaviors around money, I found myself with so many patterns that were not serving me. So I needed to do more work, more inner work to really come into an agreement with the new persona that I had said that I am, right? So yeah, it's inner work is so beautiful. And I don't feel like it ends. I'm the kind of person that I grew up without TV. So unless I will watch something that is recommended or comes with something that I will learn, I just rather consume personal growth and all of those podcasts and the audios and things like that, because why not?
Yeah, we certainly have that in common.
So we
Yeah.
live by. So
Yeah.
you're hitting on many elements of our second big, facet of what we do, bold conscious. So you've already talked about, touched on consciousness. So what steps and practices have you adopted in your daily life that
Hmm.
keep you, first what it means to you to be conscious, and then what are the practices for you to.
And if I could narrow that question, since you brought up the poverty mindset, and I think that's so
Hmm.
relevant, and people listening to
Hmm.
this, especially in the world we're living in today, I think would benefit to hear you answer Raju's question from the lens
Hmm.
of what is this poverty mindset and how do you get beyond it?
Yeah. So I still remember the very first time when I said, "This is it. Like this is what's stopping me." Um, I got a payment on PayPal. Okay, and then when I got that notification, I realized I felt sad and I felt afraid. I'm like, why did I feel so sad and afraid? Because I got paid. And I remember it was a Friday, and I took that day to really just think about why do I feel the way I feel. Um, and the more I dig into that, the more I realize that, yeah, it was really tied up to the conversations that my mother and my grandmother had with me since I was growing up. So I started using some incantations to reframe that, and to really kill the pattern. And then I remember saying, okay, so now every time when I get paid, I'm going to say, "You're worth it, and you're going to get way much more."
Mm.
So I needed to have that conversation towards that trigger, so that I would not react the same way when I got paid. So that was just one example. Another thing, I guess, like the bottom line of this is, recognize the feelings that you have when you get something, when maybe a conversation. In this case, it was, my trigger was when every time I would get paid, or if I'm having a conversation and I found like it was so difficult to talk about, the money aspect. Well, I can reframe that and I can say, I can have a powerful conversation, or I can be assertive and ask questions and detaching myself from the outcome. So yeah, a lot of practice, Trisha.
Well, I wanna recap that for our audience. Number one, the incantations are so powerful because these words, they're just words, right? But when you say them and you say them repeatedly with emotion, they really serve to slice whatever unconscious, subconscious patterns are there. Because um,
Mhm.
that's really what you're working with, is it's the conditioning and the programming. And these beliefs, they're so hard to change because they run so deep. And so when we use our own voices to actually create the opposite effect, you're using your own voice to heal yourself, and the vibration
Mhm.
of your own voice, sending it out to the universe. It's a lot of powerful energy that you're actually pushing out, which is it's so effective. That's why affirmations work, chanting, all of that. And then the second thing about recognizing what might trigger you so that you can reframe it. Um,
Yes.
that is, because otherwise it's a trigger parade, right? Like we're just walking around like triggers. Sometimes I say that to Raju. I'm like, it's like a trigger parade, because if you're not thinking about it, if you're not aware of it, things happen and they may seem
Yeah.
like separate things, but the effect and the impact on you is always the same, and your reaction's always the same, therefore creating the same, more of the same. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, actually, I would like to ask you this. One of the things I learned, it was, if there's something about somebody that it really bothers you or makes you be uncomfortable, there's a mirror effect happening, and you should just pay attention to those. If they have some behaviors that really like make you feel mad or angry or sad, like pay attention to that. Like, what is it? And it was quite interesting, because I feel like it's easy for us to see in other people than seeing things for ourselves. So that was another, I would say, habit that I really worked to get, to not judge situations, but really like be more conscious about, what does this mean, and why am I getting this information, or why am I feeling this way now?
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we've also been practicing these and learning this, that a lot of times the mirror effect that you're talking about is exactly that we have this ideal self that we have in our heads, in our minds, but so we already have a preconditioned response when someone says something, and you have a problem with them. It's because you already have an issue with that specific aspect of it, and then it just blows up, right? So it's to
Yeah.
watch that, yes, and that's super super important and delicate, because it can take you in any direction.
Well, I love one of the there's this book Raju and I have read. I've read it. I read it for the first time when I was in college, actually, called The Game of Life. And there's a lot
Mm,
in there where she uses different, spiritual texts as foundation for what she's written. A lot of it from the Bible. And one
mm-hmm.
of the affirmations is, "Every man is a golden link in the chain of my good." And
Mm,
if you truly believe that every man or woman is a golden link in the chain of my good, then there's no need to judge the
yeah,
interactions and the experiences we have as good or bad, or that person's good or bad, because, if you look at it from that lens, the triggers are opportunities for expansion, right?
great that you mentioned that. Great that you mentioned that because we start talking about the leap, right? And I feel like doing that leap for the very first time, it was very, very, very scary. But I think it's important that people know that we are going to be required to keep leaping and to keep making decisions that will stretch ourselves. And the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better you will get at identifying how your body reacts when it's the time to say yes to something or when it's the time to say no. So, in that way, I feel like the first leap is the one that you needed to have the most energy and the most resources. But then after that, you get better at understanding how to shift, and I feel like life turns like that's what people call the flow. And I feel like it's important that people understand that um maybe they don't feel or they don't understand or they cannot relate at this moment when we feel, oh, my life is just in the flow. um all I can say is that if you work towards living a life that flows, living a life that you feel comfortable and you feel great and you just sleep well because you know that you are growing and you're flowing, you'll get there. You'll get there. You'll get there. But the need for leaping will not stop. I feel like we need to be conscious about it, right? Like, as we grow, we evolve. In my case, I have 4 children. So throughout them, I'm required to keep growing. I'm required to see things with a different lens. And sometimes they teach me many lessons.
Yeah, talk about that. I know, those who follow you, you have a huge following on Instagram. Those who follow you are aware of your commitment to your children and your business. And, talk to us about how you manage that adventure, the
Mhm.
mom, entrepreneur, all of that.
Yeah. Well, the way I manage it now, it's way easier because they're not, in diapers anymore. But when I transitioned, I like to say I changed my briefcase for a diaper bag. So when you transitioned your briefcase, for just to have that diaper bag, it was for several years. In 5 years, I had 3 little kids. So I found myself most of the times, I was just really struggling into finding time for my side hustle, mainly because we were living in the northeast area, so it was impossible for me to find help for child care and all of that. Which is why we moved to Texas, because I'm like, it's crazy, if I just keep trying to do everything on my own. So we moved so we could have a budget in which I could have help. So that's the first thing, right? As a mom, I am not a bad mom if I get help. That's a big thing. Our nurturing heart, it's always going to make us believe that we can do things better. But you know what? Dad can do things really great as well. So I needed to, one of the things I do is just like I am not attached to that, good mom or great mom. In fact, I have a lot of Instagram posts where I say, yeah, here's my bad mom, declaration, right? So it's just really, I feel like, being a mom and being an entrepreneur, it's almost like you have to have that dance, and your life is always like, kind of adjusting almost by the hour, and as they grow, you need to be really organized, or else nothing is going to happen, and everybody will get frustrated. So my husband and I are very picky about the things that we put in our calendars, and at the same time, the things that we don't put in the calendar. And that has been one of the fundamental rules for us to grow and to have our own goals. Because actually, I should say, um, I'm motivated and I achieve many goals. My husband does that well as well. He does, he's ascending and expanding in his career. He did Ironman, and he's going to do it again. He wrote a book that just launched.
Oh,
So how do we both manage to do that? Thanks to Google Calendar. For we need to put everything there.
there's a plug for Google Calendar too. Oh wow.
Um, that's so I'm glad you brought that up, because I think our listeners want to hear more about that. How do you manage to create that flow, your own creative endeavors, your husband's, and then manage
Hmm.
balancing that with your responsibilities. And I follow you, and
Thank you.
really enjoy what you post. And you're right, like you'll post, here's a bad mom declaration. And I just appreciate how real you are. And even when I met you for the first time, I was telling Raju, I knew you from afar, but you immediately, your authenticity came through. What can you share about that to people listening who are entrepreneurs, who are married, who have small children? If there were, I
Mhm.
guess, three pieces of advice that you would say, these tips or this advice far outweighs anything else, what would those
Okay,
three
so the
things
first
be?
one will be there's many things on time management. And I feel like the industry makes so much money because people buy those gadgets to manage their time. And that's where they get in trouble, because I don't think you can manage time. I think you need to learn how to honor what you have, and what you need to cover with the time that you have, and find ways to optimize your time. So that's the first tip. The second tip is to really find what works for them, and really find what is their peak time. And what I mean with that is, um, and I remember I struggled with this when I started as an entrepreneur, is that I would read recommendations, especially like social media. People say, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And then when you try to follow, you get trapped into this fear of, people call it imposter syndrome. Oh, I cannot do that. How can I just do a podcast like that? I cannot. And because of that, then you don't do it. So if you could just refrain from doing those things when you research and you feel like you have to do things in their way, instead, find what works for you. I feel like last year during the pandemic, people had to do that. There's no other choice. I found myself having meetings in my car, recording videos from the trunk of my car. So, we just have to be more flexible with the way that we choose to reach our goals. And then number three, everybody in your house and your external and your support system needs to be aware of what you want. And I love, with my family, I love that we create our year vision. We have a vision board, and we include now our children, and we tell them, hey, this is what I want to achieve. and I have taught them how to split the year in 4 seasons, right? They don't call it quarters, but I try to let them know, hey, we have been working hard and this is what we want. And then we're working towards this. So if you ask my kids, they know that I'm going to be on vacation at the end of this month. Like they are synchronized. And I feel like many conversations I have with women, I feel like they try to hide for some reason. I feel like they feel bad if their kids know what they need to do, or they hide from the husband, and it's not going to work out. You just have to come more truthful to what you want to achieve, and um, as long as you are that way, I feel like when it comes to even social media, you learn how to be more practical. Faking something takes way much more effort than coming as you are.
Oh my
Mm.
God, that's the nugget right there. Faking something is so much harder, right?
Yes, yes. And again, I learned that from it took me 9 years to try to fake an accent that I didn't have. You see? It didn't work out for me because I was trying to be somebody that I am not. And I feel like, again, I don't judge myself for taking the 9 years because nobody told me that it was okay to not sound like that other role model that I had. Everybody talks about the hero and the models, and it's just like, what if you don't have? What if you are the one who are supposed to just lead the way? What if, right?
Mm, yeah, so much value right there. Though people listening probably need to, listen to this again to hear all of that. It's really just, I think, also such perfect timing, especially if you're a mother, a wife, and if you got triggered by anything that Jessica said, then it's absolutely time to relook at, why that trigger occurred and what perhaps you could do differently to give yourself that time and the space, right, to be able to maximize or optimize that flow.
Use that mirror
we,
test
we
that
can
Jessica
be
just told you about. The mirror test.
yeah no, yeah, the mirror test. We can be talking about this parenthood topic for a long time. And if there's something that I would say to kind of recap there, um it's I feel like when we take the role of a mom, at the beginning I thought that I was going to be a great mom if I would not be like my mom. Okay. And when my oldest daughter became an adult, and I started to understand, like, wait, she's evolving and she has her needs and all of these things, and we start having like issues. Um, I remember that a coach asked me, like, well, how do you define what is a good mom? And I found myself trapped because until then my pathway towards being a good mom, it was avoiding what my mom did, or avoiding what the things that got me hurt. But you know what if that's not really the plan? What if your kids have also a spiritual journey, you have your journey. What if instead you remove that pressure and just say, wait, my
Mm.
role as a mom is to give my kids unconditional love. And what does it of what I need to do to be a good mom took me also years.
Mm.
So maybe that's a
Wow.
new module that you create to reprogram moms that want to be entrepreneurs, because yeah, that package comes with many many beliefs that are framed into what they believe that about being a good mom.
Mm. We should do a separate podcast, an episode on parenting, single dad, moms, just a lot of different aspects and things I learned as a single parent. I'm just like, I just, my hats go off to all mothers, period. Forget single mothers, but everyone, like what it takes to bring up and to provide that environment and unconditional love for children. So we
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes,
admire
yes.
you for that.
Thank you for saying that too,
Yes.
so succinctly. And sometimes truth does sound really simple, not easy, but simple.
Mhm.
What you just shared there about, providing that, giving that unconditional love
Mhm.
is really the key.
It is.
Mm. Listen, we talk about time management and time. You don't manage time, you manage what's optimal, right?
Mhm.
So this conversation in this limited time we have here with you, and we want to bring you back for many more. Um, just there's always such wisdom when we talk to people like you who are authentic, and we just want to make sure that we provide these kinds of conversations to our audience. So there's so much learning, so much wisdom. We encourage you all to go back and listen to some of the gems that Jessica just dropped. So we don't take your all that you say to us for granted, Jessica. So we really appreciate you, and
Thank
we
you.
always learn so much from you every time we speak with you. As
Thank
you know,
you.
this
Thank
is
you
a
so much.
co-creative process, right? So in that vein, what is it that you might have discovered or learned in this conversation today for you?
Hmm. I love that we're in sync with the mirror technique, because I always thought that was kind of crazy that I felt that way. But I also love um, that I realized that I did the leap more than once. That part didn't really come until you asked me that. I'm like, yeah. And the way that I've been able to leap even faster is by being more conscious, right? And finding that meaning. I also loved your question about what bold means for me, realizing that the concept of greatness is very much associated with that. So thank you
Mm,
for that.
Thank you.
mm,
Thank you so much.
really.
Uh, really, this podcast, this platform, these conversations are a way for us to take these concepts that, you know, probably prior to 2020 would have just been, small side conversations we had with like a small group of people. But what Raju and I are finding is that more and more people really want to dig deeper and do that inner work that we were speaking about, that you brought up before. And really, I think the value there is, what are the questions that you're being asked that you're having to answer? Because we really don't even realize what possibilities are ahead of us or what our own potential is until we're pushed, right? Like what you said before, from pain to possibilities, I think is just
Mhm.
so perfect for people to then look at pain or any challenge with a lens in which what happens if you actually embrace these moments as opportunities for expansion, embrace the pain as really those moments of blessing. Okay, what am I supposed to learn now? Because we all definitely found our way, all three of us here, really in each other's lives after after having those conversations, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
With ourselves, with others, and we want to continue to have those conversations. So we look forward to having you back here again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like, when people are watching, I want to say this, if you're watching, there are several things that can help you to take this information and turn it into inspiration and then determination so you can take action. So if you liked this information, one thing I always do is if I'm listening, I don't like to be a passive listener. If I like something or somebody, I try to belong to their community. I try to be as close as possible from where they are because um, you know there's not too many people where you can find that they understand what you're going through and you can just ask them questions. So I would invite anybody that is listening to reach out to Raju and Trisha, Instagram, reach out to my account, Coach Jessica Campos. I'm sure that you can see the link. we really, really are very accessible because we make the time to honor that, so that you can be impacted. You can really find the drive that you need, because that journey, trying to just navigate that on your own, you will get there. You will get to places where you want to be. But certainly, I can guarantee you that with help, you will get at least 10 times faster. I can guarantee you that.
Terrific. Well, so you answered the question where they can find you. Is there any other place
Yes.
besides Instagram they should look for you?
Yes, yes, yes. I love to connect them, through Instagram. We always have opportunities in our link, whether that is that they can get a book for free or they
Hmm.
can just enjoy content that we create. So that will be the best place where they can find me. It's me personally handling my account. And yeah, that's the best way.
Yes, and that's at Coach Jessica Campos. So we'll
Yeah.
have that in the show notes.
That's right. And
Yeah.
from personal experience, I've only gotten to know you a few months now, and I just feel like you are one of those few people that actually just always adding value. You don't even charge for certain things. It's like, wow, there's always more. There's always more. Jessica
So can we
just
change that?
provides. Jessica just provides so much value. It's incredible. It's incredible. And because you are such a you're who as I said earlier, you are who you are. Is what you see is what you get, and you can't not but feel that in every interaction, at least I've had with you,
Thank
in the
you.
few that we've had. So what you appear like on Instagram, or what we're talking about now, or in all our interactions, it's the same Jessica. I mean, Trisha used to tell me that. I go, oh well, I mean, everybody has their thing, but no, you really, you live up to it. So thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
we so appreciate you. We're so grateful that you could join us today. And we
you.
love
Yeah.
you.
Anytime, anytime. Likewise. Well, it's a wrap, right?
It's a wrap.
So wrap. All right, Jessica, take good care. We'll see you again soon.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay. Bye.